I try to stick to blue, gray, white, and black.
Hey, you can wear it with anything.
That's it. You can wear with jeans.
I'm literally wearing the same outfit as I did last time.
I think I wore this last week.
Don't think about what I wear.
Yeah, me neither, dude. I hate choosing clothes. Like, I'm
Yeah.
so tired of making those decisions. Hey, welcome to another episode of Spilling the Beans. Today I'm sitting down with my good friend Dusty Keefe. Dusty was actually the first Spilling the Beans episode, I think, ever, over 2.5 years ago. And so a lot of things have happened. The market has changed considerably, and we're going to be talking a lot about some of the things that he's seen over the past couple of years. For someone who's been in the business for a very long time, at a high level, doing a lot of volume, and got some really, really good insights. So I'm excited to hear what his perspective is currently as we kind of navigate this market shift and economic changes that are happening, not only in the real estate industry, but in just business and economics as a whole, just on the national level. So let's go sit down with Dusty.
Yeah, good to see you, dude.
Welcome to Spill the Beans, Dusty.
Good to be back. I was the
I think
first guest.
I was going to say, you were the first ever, man.
Yeah.
You're here to make a victory lap on this thing.
That's right. Glad to be here.
I know we talked a lot about the mobile home parks last time, and there's obviously been 2.5 years of difference in the marketplace and things changing, and you guys do some coaching and masterminds and stuff now, and the real estate investors meetup has grown like crazy.
Oh, yeah.
So like let's talk about, I mean, we could talk about those things and how you built those businesses, but I'd also like to talk about like the people that you're coaching, what kind of bottlenecks that they've been facing and what kind of struggles they've been facing and how they've kind of worked through some of those things, especially over the past 6 months or so. So let's talk a little bit about that. So what have you seen? Well, let's talk about your own business first, man. So what have you seen in your own business over the past couple of years, and kind of like where do you see some opportunities moving forward?
Yeah, so a lot of what like mobile home stuff that I do hasn't fundamentally changed that much.
Right.
Other than interest rates have obviously gone up on the park sector. So a lot of people, you got these sellers just like apartments that are asking way too much money, and now the interest rates have changed and now suck some of the value out of some of these deals. So
do you guys get bank financing on any of your stuff?
you
You always get
every
seller
park
financing,
is
right?
seller financed.
Yeah.
Yeah, that we've ever done, except cash. I've done cash on a couple.
Right.
So yeah, we don't have any investors or any banks or any of that stuff. So it's all just self-financed.
Yeah. So you just save a bunch of money, buy another one. That kicks off more income. You save up, take that money, and roll it into another one, and just keep on adding up that way. I love it, dude.
Yep.
And so that hasn't really changed. Maybe sellers are getting a little bit more realistic on prices, though.
Yeah. Sellers really haven't changed that much on the single units that I do here in Charleston. They're still the same people I'm targeting, same motivation, same type of stuff. Maybe it's gotten a little harder because more people are getting into it, especially in Charleston. I mean, it's just blowing up. So.
Yeah.
But on the student stuff, man, it's like depends on what level the student is at. They could be, if you're brand new to the business, sometimes just picking up the phone to make that first phone call to a seller feels like a boat anchor.
Yeah, it does.
And you got to like kind of coax them like, dude, it's going to be all right. It's going to be all right.
Yeah.
On the way here, I was texting with one of the students, and yesterday he was like, he just moved to South Carolina, and he's comparing it where he came from, and he was like, I don't have any connections here. I was like, dude, he's got a ton of money. I was like, you sold properties here, you're looking to redeploy it here, and I literally wrote his Facebook post for him. He's like, why would people respond to that? I was like, don't question it. Just put it out there. Don't think for other people. All you got to say is you have cash and you're ready to do some deals, JV, whatever that looks like. And I saw him post it, and I just saw the thread. And I'm like, dude, he was like so terrified to put it out there, what he was doing.
Yeah.
So it could be something that simple where you just watch somebody kind of develop and go over the threshold, or
Dude, there's still like, I still have those inhibitions about like posting something and seeing if people are going to respond to it. Like people, like we always have that. It's just doing it in spite of that fear and realizing you're offering a service, right? That you're offering value to other people when you tell them, hey, I got some cash, I'm looking to deploy it into something, or I want to buy something. Like people are going to see opportunity in that. You're benefiting those people because you can either invest in their deals, they can sell you something, right? Maybe you can joint venture with them on a different project. But like people, the right people will kind of rise and reach out, and you're going to develop a lot of credibility because, I mean, who doesn't like somebody with money, right?
Yeah.
Like, everybody wants to meet, especially in this investment type of a business, everybody wants to meet people who have access to cash or have their own cash, so that way they can start doing some deals together. And
yeah, I could tell his personality type is super analytical, and he's like, why would somebody do that if they could just go do, I'm like, you don't have to overthink this thing. Just do exactly what I'm telling you to do, and I'll call you tomorrow, and I can't wait to call him after this.
I love it, man. And I think that whole not thinking for other people.
Yeah.
Right? We all build up these stories in our heads of what somebody else would think. How the hell do you know what somebody else would ever think?
Especially in a negotiation, like never think for the seller, because you don't know what their motivation is until you start asking them better questions.
Dude, just because I'm talking to you and you might be focused on the price, somebody else is focused on a headache and getting out of that headache, right? Like, dude, there's a deal that I'm partnered up in. I would write a check for $2 million today to be done with that deal. Right? I don't care about the price.
So you can't.
I don't want the headache, because the negative energy from that deal is holding me back from making $10 million by being able to do more deals and focus on other newer opportunities and exciting things. And like, so even though I'm an investor and I'm typically price conscious on a lot of things and focused on the price, I would get out of that in a heartbeat to be able to then roll into other opportunities. It's the opportunity cost more from me than it is about
bandwidth.
Exactly.
Deal with other deals, take it away your team's bandwidth.
Exactly.
So it's worth it just to get rid of it.
And I'm active in that. Like imagine somebody who's not active, who doesn't like, dude, if they're an owner occupant or they inherited a property and they don't have the resources and the connections and the knowledge and the know-how and the expertise, dude, they want to get out of that problem even faster because they have zero idea of resources and resourcefulness of how to get out of that situation. So yeah, man, you can't think for other people. You got to let them make a decision and at least just put it out there. Hey, here's what I'm thinking. You know, what would it look like on your side? And let them tell you what they're thinking.
And then we have kind of mid-tier students who are, you know, they've bought some properties, they've read Rich Dad Poor Dad, they're starting to grow their assets, or maybe they're even out of the rat race. And their only goal was, I just got to get out of the rat race as fast as possible.
Quit my job, yeah.
And once they do, they're kind of like having an identity crisis, they're kind of like the Cody, they're called the Roadrunner finally, and they're like, what do I do now? Where's my purpose now? I'm like, dude, you got to have a goal beyond that, you know? So then we work on their next goal. Like, you're out of the rat race, now you got some freedom. Let's work with that freedom and create something new.
Let's hit on that. I love that, because I think that's one of those things where if we all focus on the destination, right? And the reality is, in this life, in this journey, it's not about the destination. There's not even a destination, because the destination never gets caught. And so having the conversation of like, we're not looking for destinations, we're looking for checkpoints along the journey, and saying, hey, the first checkpoint is going to be quit my job. What's the next checkpoint? The next checkpoint is reach this amount in, you know, maybe that's active income, so that way they can quit their job. The next one is reach this amount in passive income. The next one is get all those assets paid off, or get out of the C-class stuff and get into B or A-class type stuff. And like, let's talk about all those different checkpoints along the way. And then it's fund this account so my kids can go to college, or fund this account so my kids can start their own business, or fund this account so that way we can travel, you know, 2 months out of the year, once in the summer, once in the winter. And like, dude, like, hitting those different checkpoints and having something already, knowing that there's going to be something else in the future.
You kind of have that progressive goal setting.
Right.
Have little touchstones along the way, but our job's kind of just guide them along the way and make sure we're getting there.
So that way when they do catch that Roadrunner, they're not wondering what's, they already know what's next, you know? Now they already know, okay, awesome, check that box. And we'll enjoy this checkpoint, we'll celebrate, go to a dinner and hang out, and then let's focus on the next one.
Right. And then we got guys who are, you know, in our third year with us, like Dan Rivers and Chris Lamb, who were like, you know, buying and selling businesses and working with Kelly on.
Talk about growth, man.
Yeah, I mean, it's crazy. He was making, I think, $28,000 like the year before he started. Now he's making over $1 million a year.
Dan Rivers?
Yeah. I mean, I don't want to tell his story for him, but I mean, he's doing really well. He's got a strong team. So it's cool to see people's progression throughout the whole program. But it's really not all because of us. They worked their ass off and did everything it took. But it's cool to see people take what they're given and run with it.
Well, it's the action with the education, right? If you just take action, you're going to get the education, but it's going to be expensive. It's going to take a lot of time, right?
Yeah.
Like, think about us and the self-education that we had to go through of just getting our teeth kicked in over and over and over again and learning from the school of hard knocks. And it's the reason they call it the school of hard knocks, because it's friggin' hard, man. There's a lot of struggles along the way.
You're going to get bruised and bloodied along the way if you don't have some mentors and some guidance.
Dude, and as soon as I found out about mentorship and masterminds and plugging into local groups, it was like, dude, I can learn from their experiences, and it was like this meteoric rise that I had of not having the struggle. So it's the action combined with the education. And then, you know, how many people do we know that are analytical type and they get all the education, but they never take action?
That's what I tell them. 1 scoop education, 2 scoops action.
Oh, I love it.
Every time.
I love it. But you need both of them at all times. And then the other thing is, the other point that I want to make is the 3-year principle, right?
Yeah.
Like we've talked about that before. It's not, dude, you don't get rich in the first year. You don't get
I love that.
wildly wealthy in 2 years. Dude, it takes 3 years and beyond to really start seeing the harvest, right? To really start seeing the fruits of your labor. You got to plant seeds, then cultivate those seeds, then you start harvesting, and then you start consuming beyond that. And that 3 to 5 years is the commitment. If you're not willing to dedicate 3 to 5 years, don't even start, dude, because that's what you need in order to get things rolling and to keep things rolling. And that's what
quit.
That's what
3 months in, 1 month in, 1 day in, 2 phone calls in, you know. They quit. So it's not until the pain of quitting or staying where you are is greater than the pain of whatever you're going to endure of making those calls and get going. But yeah, when you said I don't even do anything, I say no to everything unless I'm willing to commit for 3 years to it. That parameter has changed a lot of my decisions too. I'm like, man, unless I'm willing to say yes, I'll do this for 3 years, it's just a flat no.
Yeah, no, I love that. I think it's a differentiator between varying levels of success. But yeah, I think that 3-year differentiate and starting to make decisions on a longer timeline is a big differentiator between a lot of the most successful people that we know and the successful students that we teach. It's, hey, I'm going to dip my toe in it. Fucking nobody's ever achieved anything by dipping their toe in anything, right? Like, if you're not white hot, it's why the entire book, Think and Grow Rich, is the cornerstone of all personal development, is having white hot desire to achieve something. Dude, if you don't have that, you're never going to achieve anything.
That was our manual, our manifesto when we got started in business, man. We printed a picture of Napoleon, put it over the fireplace when we got started.
I love it.
Sold our TVs and that thing grow rich all the time. And man, I gotta have that white hot purpose.
Yeah, and if you don't, hey, I'm gonna test it out. Oh, fucking good luck, right? I'm gonna see how it works out for the first year. Well, I'm telling you, nothing is achieved in the first year, other than the learning curve and planting the seeds in the different relationships, none of which actually start sprouting out of the ground until year 2, 3, 4, and beyond. Like, you got to go in with at least a 3-year decision, a 3-year commitment to joining a mastermind, to dedicating your time to this new career, dedicating your time to this new business. Dude, these flash in the pan, get rich quick shit, dude. You would eliminate all those distractions from life if you had a 3-year timeline horizon and decision making.
If it was that easy, literally everybody would be doing it. You know, so it's not that easy. It's really hard to grow.
I love it. And dude, then you see these like remarkable success stories because they dedicated 3 years, like a Chris Lamb, right? Like a Dan Rivers, and they're just getting started, right? And guess what? It wasn't the easiest. They didn't get rich in the first year, but I can assure you that your 3 to 5 year goals will be substantially over accomplished. And your 1 year goals will probably be under accomplished. All right, quick change in scenery. Camera overheated, so we had to move over into the shade a little bit more. But what we were saying is, we all overestimate what we can accomplish in 12 months, and we grossly underestimate what can happen in 3 to 5 years, right? Like Dan's goals for 12 months, probably he had these great ambitions and realized pretty quickly, maybe not, so I don't know, boom, boom, boom. It's a little bit slower growth in that first 12, maybe 24 months, and then all of a sudden, like the momentum sets
Yeah.
in, dude. It's and people think success is this like stair step of going up at a 45-degree angle. It's not that. It's a hockey stick of nothing, 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 nothing. Everything happens,
Right,
you know, and that's the power of this momentum and just sticking with it, you know. And it takes 10,000 hours to become an expert in anything, and that is a big component of any business or any career. Like, dude, you see people jumping from job to job, and they stick to it for 1 to 3 years, and then they jump to another job. Well, fuck it, yeah, your career is not going to progress because you've never dedicated enough time to becoming an expert. You need to dedicate 10,000 hours to any activity in order to become an expert.
It's like the analogy you talk about with the jet taking off and it burning like, what is it, 90% of its fuel?
Yeah.
Takeoff and all,
it's 50% on the takeoff and the first 15 minutes, and then the other 50% is the next like 2
trip.
hours.
Yeah, it's crazy. You burn so much energy getting going that once you get going, you can stay going. But it takes a ton of energy to build it and get it going.
Yeah, man. But then once you're up,
Yeah.
then it's not as much. Now you just got to keep your, just tap the gas, tap the
gradual
gas, tap the gas. Yeah, and it just keeps moving. So it's dude, that's the success factor. But so what are you seeing from a standpoint of like the market shifting? Like, are people getting spooked based on interest rates? Are things not selling for the price point that we thought they would? Are things not refinancing? Are like what's the skill set, the differentiator that you're seeing that's making a big impact with getting deals done right now? Like, what are the skills and the technical knowledge that people know in order to take down deals, flips, wholesales, mobile home parks, multifamily, like all that stuff?
I mean, let's be real. Interest rates are still historically low.
Yep.
You know, when our parents were coming up and grandparents, it might have been 12 to 16% interest rates, and if they got 10 or 12%, they thought they died and went to heaven. So, these interest rates aren't bad for like homeowners. I mean, maybe it slows down the buying a little bit, but not much around here.
Dude, can you imagine if interest rates jumped to 16%?
Golly,
I couldn't even imagine that. Like my entire real estate career, interest rates have been sub 6-7%, right? And for pretty much everybody who's doing real estate, I don't know, there's not that many people who are doing real estate in the late 80s. Like that's 30 years ago, more than 35 years ago that interest rates were in the double digits, right? And it hasn't been like that. And so most of those people are retired or they're out of the game. So like there's not many people. I couldn't imagine what that would do to the market if it jumped up to that and how things would halt, or there's going to be a handful of us who know how to pivot and know how to navigate that.
Yeah, that's kind of why subject twos came to be present. Like back then, people would take over older loans because they had a cheaper interest rate, and the banks were like, "Hey, wait a minute, you can't do. We're losing money here." And they passed those laws, but yeah, so people always make adjustments, and this time will be no different. But I do a lot with, the lower income, like mobile home stuff and cash deals, and it doesn't, I did that for a reason, to try to stay away from some of this crazy fluctuation. And somebody, at the end of the day, somebody needs somewhere to live. Yeah. So, as long as I can cash flow them really well, like they do, then, we're good with that part. So, but where it really affects people is the commercial side. Yeah. We're starting to see people who were really good at marketing, who were good at acquisitions, who were terrible operators, who are now getting their teeth kicked out.
Getting everywhere, man. So, camera keeps overheating. We're heading inside.
Turns out May and Charleston is still very hot.
Yes, commercial real estate is definitely the most affected by interest rates, right? Like residential looks at the comparable approach, which means the house down the street, it's 3 beds, 2 baths, same square footage as my house over here. So if it sold for that much, my house could probably sell for that much. The other way is, what does it cost to build? If it costs $100 a square foot to build that house, and it's 3,000 square feet, you're talking about a $300,000 construction cost, right? And it's worth at least that much replacement value. And then the other one would be, based on income approach. So how much income is that single family rented for, and what kind of ROI can you get for that? That's usually a blend of those three. Commercial gets rid of the comparable approach, and it's very, very heavily based on the income approach with a little bit of the construction cost as well. But that income approach is most affected by interest rates rising. So if interest rates are rising, then the return on investment needs to increase so that way they can pay for their debt service. And if they can't, then that seller needs to start getting creative on the financing and needs to either you need to assume their financing, which is what's happening a lot on the commercial side right now. So a lot of seller assumable loans being taken over. And then the other thing is there's going to be a lot of seller carrybacks of at least a portion of that as well at a very low interest rate, 2, 3, 4%, if they still want to get their premium on the sales price.
I love to see when you pivoted. I thought that was pretty awesome. You've done it one way, had a lot of success, bankable, this and that, and you saw something and said, you know what, it's time to go start making some owner financing offers and just change your method. Just having the awareness to do that and have some offers they actually accepted. I was like, man, that's awesome. Anybody can go out and make those offers.
It's how many tools you got in your tool belt kind of a thing. And
absolutely.
And I did all the creative finance back when I first got started, right? And when there wasn't access to easy money in 2009, 2010, 2011, 2012, we did a lot of creative finance and seller finance type deals. I just haven't had to use it because when
money's been so cheap.
When you're buying commercial, because it is so impacted by financing and finance rates, you usually buy commercial based on backtracking what financing looks like, And so I've always looked at what does the loan product look like, and let me backtrack into my purchase based on what those loan terms look like. And so when interest rates were so low, you could get appraisals for more than what you could sell it for. And usually the loan to value was right around what you could sell it for, Right. And so you're like, well, why would I ever sell if I could just get a new appraisal at 20% more, get a 70% loan to value loan. That's about what I net after taxes anyways. And I could still own the asset if I just refinance and held it versus selling it. And the Burr method worked.
Right.
But as interest rates rise, as the market changes, you need to be flexible on seeing what the other strategies are. And I think right now that the whole model of creative financing, assuming other people's loans, making some sort of an understanding the cost of capital, what your cost of capital is, and making sure that your blended cost of capital is less than what your net operating income is. And as long as you follow that equation, then at least the property will cash flow, right? And then you can figure out if it cash flows positive, you can sell it. If it cash flows positive, you can creatively structure an exit. If it cash flows positive, you can refinance it eventually, And so, or ride out any sort of economic storm in order to ride through.
Cash flow solves a lot of issues in real estate. It allows you to survive long enough to withhold outlast any storm. But these guys who bought with bridge loans, who were trying to refinance out of it, now the interest rates have gone up. Now they're getting kicked in the teeth, and we're going to see a lot of blood in the streets, I think. On that front.
Yeah, I was talking with Caleb Pearson, and it's a lot of the construction loans right now. A lot of the renovation loans on the single family side, a lot of the construction loans on the commercial side is bridge loans, and I heard a stat that over a third of all bridge loans and construction loans are coming due this year in the next 6 months, and they can't refinance, right? Because these values came down. They thought they'd be able to refinance.
Underwrote it at a lower interest rate.
I got 2 of them, right?
Yeah, right?
Now rents are coming in way better. We have a lot of our own equity in the deals. So even if we get a lower loan to value, maybe I can't cash out my investors, but I can still get out of the construction loans. And at the end of the day, you're not committed to that interest rate. So even if you got a lower loan to value, a little bit higher of an interest rate, hopefully in 12, 24, 36, 48 months, you can at least refinance then, cash out the investors. And if your worst case scenario is your investors just have to ride out the storm with you a little bit longer, but there's little to no risk to their principal, and you can still cover their preferred return, and really it's just a longer timeline. I think that's a pretty good worst case scenario, right?
Yeah.
Like that cash flow, leaning on cash flow positive, worst case scenario, I think you're in a pretty good position because the economic waves and storms don't last forever. You just need to be able to ride that out. So Dusty, what are you focused on for the next 12 to 24 months? Like what are the opportunities that you're specifically looking for? Are you waiting for properties to go back? Are you waiting for something, like, are you sitting on the sidelines? Are you still doing deals? Like, where do you see the biggest opportunities, and like, what are you looking for over the next, expanding on over the next 12 to 24 months?
Yeah, as market shifts and creates some more problems, we're in the business of solving problems. So in the past, there's been not a lot of problems and deals were scarce. I think there'll be the more opportunities we have to solve issues that may come up in the marketplace, just like back when the last crash happened. I was short selling beach houses or whatever it was. I was doing more high-end stuff. Everything ebbs and flows and changes, but as there's more issues that we can help with, there'll be more opportunities. And I think just like the apartment guys who are looking for ways to get out of properties now or whatever, I think the more they have problems with lenders and banks and all that, even homeowners, single family stuff, I think there'll be a lot of opportunity coming up.
I think it's just money's been so easily and readily available, and cheap money, and the market has just been going up. Where it
anybody who could fog a mirror could make money in real estate over the past couple of years, just like before the last crash.
You could.
Yeah, my whole goal.
I'm sorry. No, go ahead.
No, I was just going to say my kind of mindset is, building that financial moat around the family and just saying, hey, I'm going to have this many properties that are free and clear. This pays any personal expenses and whatever constant business expenses, and then outside of that, we're good to go. Whatever happens.
I've seen that as a recurring theme across a couple of the conversations with sophisticated people who've been in the game for a while. That's kind of their next chapter, right? Like that's the next checkpoint on the list. Is like, I'm at a point now where I want to pay off a bunch of stuff, own a bunch of things free and clear. Maybe I have a joint venture partner who I feel really good about, and we agree on that. Or maybe I own 100% of this deal solely myself, and I just want that paid off. And as you do more of those, just slam it down, man. Like I have a couple, like my office up in Cleveland, awesome historical mansion. It's not a huge property, but I have it rented out as kind of like micro offices. My team rents out of there, and it's probably worth $750, and I only owe, I don't even know, $250,000 on it. I'm like, dude, pay it off. Well, Tim, you only have a 4.5% loan on there. Why would you ever do that when you can make more money for peace of mind?
Yeah. You can't put a price on peace of mind, man. All of our personal stuff's paid for, house, cars, all that stuff. So we're kind of having a good place there. And then we have a number of free and clear rentals that, it's hard to go broke having those. So people will argue both sides. You need leverage, you need this, but you can't put a price on the peace of mind of having that.
I agree 100%.
Especially if you've been through the last crash.
So what does that process map look like? Like, what is the step-by-step? Do people go in, get the active income first, then the passive income, then they slam down all their personal debts, and then they start slamming down their investment debts? Is that kind of like the step-by-step? If you're coaching somebody on this, you're trying to give, hey, here should be the first checkpoint, then the second checkpoint, then the third, then the fourth. Like, what would be that step-by-step process that you would advise them on?
Yeah, well, first step is get your first deal. Make sure we're cash flowing, make sure you're doing a smart deal. The fundamentals don't change in this business.
Yeah.
No matter what the market's doing, the fundamentals don't change. It's buy right. Obviously that's the most important step, is buying the asset correctly. So we make sure they do that. Having good long-term low-interest financing if you're going to have financing on it, whether that's subject to, whether it's owner financing, whether you're going out and qualifying for it, making sure you're not getting in trouble and you have long-term low-interest financing.
Yep.
And then finding
fixed rate.
Yeah, fixed rate. Make sure you're not going to get in trouble with that. No balloons coming up really soon.
Yep.
And then, if you're going to hold the property, finding qualified tenants who maybe even have a vested interest in buying it one day, who take care of the property. We're all rowing in the same direction. And over time, you win. If you hold property and let it cash flow, let it appreciate, let it pay down. So, the fundamentals just don't change. So, yeah, just getting that first deal and then building on that, every deal. And then not spending, we talk about profit first, paying yourself first and not spending everything, because your business is a hungry animal.
Yep.
and it will eat everything that
Yep.
you produce if you let it. So you got to have some rules and say, hey, I'm going to pay myself first this, and then once you have a certain amount, you can go buy properties free and clear. But if you don't have a plan or a system, then your business will just gobble up everything you ever do.
Yep.
And you'll be in its own rat race. You traded one rat race for another.
Yeah, I saw a stat that they interviewed like 3 different, I don't know, income ranges or whatever it was, and it was like people who were making $30,000 to $50,000 a year, and then people who were making $150,000 to $250,000 a year, and then people who were making $1 million to $2 million a year, and majority of all 3 categories were like, I'm living paycheck to paycheck, right?
Yeah.
I'm just, my head's barely above water. How is that possible? Well, as income increases, people start increasing their expenses. They start increasing their lifestyle, which I don't want you to not go on vacation, but like have your shit together, right? Like spend your money on assets before you spend it on liabilities. I was riding in the golf cart with Hudson, my 5-year-old, the other day, and he goes, Dad, I really want to buy a rental property so I can buy more toys. I was like, that's the right order. You got to buy the rental property first, and then you can pay for the liabilities. And he didn't stop at buying more toys. He goes, I want to buy a rental property so that way I can buy more toys and more rental properties.
Oh, nice.
Because he knows the next step then is
You're doing a good
buying
job,
more
man.
assets to then be able to pay for those other liabilities. And understanding that, you buy the assets, and I love what you said, is, dude, fixed rate, quality tenants, buy it right, and quality management, right? Making sure you're taking care of your property, you're managing it properly, so that way you can attract those quality tenants.
Yeah.
And then, dude, you're just slamming down principal, like your tenant's paying for your mortgage, right? And
we overcomplicate this business.
I know, man.
It's not rocket science.
Yeah.
I mean,
but
put quality people in quality properties and manage it well over time. There's no way you can lose over time.
I think there's a maturity that comes with what you were saying of like, as I grow, dude, there's different ways to grow, not just in door count or in assets under ownership or assets under management. It's in equity in your portfolio. It's in cash flow on a monthly basis. It's in different things. Like you can increase your net worth without increasing your door count by slamming down payments on your property.
Yeah, most people you see on social media pounding their chests about unit count are full of shit. Own 0.5% of 1,000 units or whatever. I'd rather own 100 really solid units than 1,000 shitty units that are kind of all over the place. Just from a peace of mind standpoint, and just do that really well, and you'll be fine.
Dude, I know so many people who grew the portfolio to 1,000 to 2,000 doors in the past 2 to 3 years, which is a commendable achievement. But they didn't, because things were so easy, they didn't go through the learning curves. They didn't. It's like, dude, let me walk in and I got somebody spotting me so I can bench 300 pounds. Well, guess what? The spot is going away. Can you still bench 300 pounds when you don't have? That's dude. You didn't build up the muscle to get there. And because of that, they're in a tight spot, man, on a lot of different things, and they're going to be in a continuously tight spot. And here's what I would say: for those people, you got to link arms and realize sooner than later that you might have to give up some equity and partner with somebody who has built the muscle over time to help you either bring more capital to the deal or be prepared to partner up with somebody who has cash or capital or the strength that to get new loans and sponsor new loans and things like that. Because, dude, I just saw it, big group in Texas, dude, gave back over 3,000 doors. They bought them in 2021.
Yeah.
In less than 24 months, they just gave back 3,000 doors, $250 million worth of property, lost tens of millions of dollars of investor equity, and bank took it back.
That's terrible. They basically win. Stop managing it immediately. They took it back quickly. They do it quick in Texas.
In Texas is quick. Like they didn't make their March payment in April. It was taken back by the bank. Isn't that wild?
Yeah, that's wild, man.
But I'm sure. Here's the thing: most lenders aren't in the loan to own game, right? some are. There are some shark lenders who make a loan with the expectation that you're going to default and they can take it back at your cost basis.
Wow.
And that really exists, you know. But this lender specifically isn't. I know who the lender isn't specific, but they must have seen some writing on the wall. It must have been shitty operations for a long time. It must have been not hitting debt service coverage yields for a long time. It must have been, and then finally when the payment's not made,
they're like, hit the eject button before this gets any worse.
You got to go. And I would say that that's been a lesson. I think a lot of people back in 2008, 2009, 2010 didn't hit the eject button on their contractor soon enough who wasn't getting the job done, who didn't fire that employee who wasn't getting the job done soon enough, who didn't fire the management company who wasn't getting the job done soon enough.
It's like a Band-Aid, just got to rip it off.
Dude,
man.
you got to. And it seems more painful in the moment,
Right.
but it's far less painful than trying to drag them through the next 3 to 6 months. Like, we just fired our management company across 3,000 doors, and it is, and we then diversified over 4 different management companies, including taking it in-house, and then 3 other third-party management companies. And dude, it is like night and day difference in operations in the first 30 days. I wish I would have done that a year ago when they weren't getting the job done. But it was like, I don't know, the girl in high school who dates the asshole, and it's like, I can change him. I know I can change him, and I can make him a good guy. Fucking doesn't exist, dude. Can't. No, the guy's an asshole. Get rid of him.
Your mom was right.
Yeah, exactly. And so,
get rid of him.
Yeah, and so it's like, dude, just go and fire their ass, get them out of there. It's a cancer to the operation. It's a poison to your systems and your processes. Like, get them out of there and bring in good staff members, bring in good property management, bring in good contractors. You got to fire their ass and rip the Band-Aid off sooner than later. That, I think, is going to be a big differentiator between who's able to ride out and like pivot during this economic turmoil versus relying on something that's not already working.
Absolutely. I thought it was interesting feedback you got from Litzler a while back talking about, you know, people who have over $100 million in net worth and how are they different. What do they believe and what are the commonalities? And one of them was they bring property management in-house, which is like this balance of not wanting to do the janitorial work of real estate and then needing to do for this to go well, you know, and having it in-house and at least somebody managing it who cares about it more than a third-party manager. So
you need it, man. You need it. Well, here's the thing. Like, third party, I wouldn't say it's a volunteer army, but like, they're getting paid based on gross rent collections, you know? But when you look at property management, there's not that much difference in a management company's income looking at gross rent collections if they're at 85% occupancy versus 95% occupancy.
It doesn't matter that much to them.
But that's all the profit. That's all the cash flow to somebody who's leveraged at 75% LTV. They need that extra. That's 100% of their operational income, of their operational cash flow above their operating costs and their debt service. That last 10% is everything.
You got to get great at this.
Exactly, and so it doesn't. So you're not rowing in the same boat in the same direction when you hire third-party management. Because they don't really give a shit about that last 10%. They're making majority of their money off of keeping it 85%. So they're not really pushing. So you need to structure it in a way that incentivizes
them to get past that threshold.
Right. Because now, if you're in the same boat rowing in the same direction, now everybody's winning. But most management contracts are not set up that way. And the good news of having management in-house is that's somebody's salary. And if they don't get the job done, you fire their ass and you bring in somebody new. Right? And so it's less of a volunteer army, and you can put certain metrics and KPIs in place to measure that performance as opposed to otherwise. So, man, I think it's a good conversation. I think it dove into a lot of different elements of what the differentiator is going to be over the next couple of years here. So
I think there'll be a lot of opportunity, like there always is. I think there's more in challenging times. I've never made more money than I did right after the last crash. It was just a time where we were able to offer a lot more solutions to a lot more different kinds of situations. So,
and it goes back to what we said at the beginning of having the knowledge and taking action. And And I think that's why it's so important to like hang out, right?
Oh, yeah.
For us to grab coffee on a regular basis, for us to get all the local investors together, or if you are not in Charleston, create your own meetup, right? Join a mastermind. You got an event coming up, right?
Yeah, June 10th. We got a little mastermind at Patriots Point here. And then
Here in Charleston.
Here in Charleston, Mount Pleasant.
One day event?
One day event. And then
It's like, how much is it? It's less than $1,000,
yeah,
right?
$750 for the day. We're going on a yacht. Well, having people out, having drinks, networking out there. Should be a really good time.
So some formal get together in the morning.
Yeah.
Hang out,
Like
go
this.
around the room, talk with maybe a dozen people,
Yep.
and
break for lunch.
then figure out what their biggest pain point is,
Yep.
right? Help them push through any sort of roadblocks, any sort of bottlenecks that they're facing for a couple hours in the morning, break for lunch, go get some lunch, and then hop on the yacht.
Yep.
And our good buddy Brian Page just bought a beautiful boat,
Yeah.
a couple $1 million, and it is absolutely awesome. And go out in Charleston Harbor,
Yeah.
beautiful day in June, hang out, and that's when the real connections start coming.
Yeah, man. It's good to hang out with people like that, and we always tell people the first thing we would do is join a mastermind. We're always saying that. Lock
Yep.
arms with people who have a common future as you, not a common past.
Yep.
Your dipshit buddies from high school who spend more time on fantasy football than their families and businesses. Is probably not going to take you to where you want to go. So
Not financially, anyways. And
Right.
so making sure that you are focused on, like, the fastest way to change your luck is changing who you're hanging out with, man.
Mm-hmm.
Like that through accidental just rubbing of elbows, you will find yourself into deals. You will find yourself raising private money. You will find yourself
Just kinda through osmosis.
operationally involved, right?
just
just
being
through
around
osmosis of being in the same fucking petri dish of people, right? Versus the ones that people aren't doing anything and they're barely keeping their head above water, versus the people who are having these conversations about wealth building, wealth preservation, and expanding their means, and being smart about things, and digging a financial moat around their home,
Right.
like you said.
Yeah.
Like, if you're having those conversations, you're going to organically find yourself doing those things, and that is what's going to help keep you accountable. And again, even just put yourself in the room. It's changed everything for me. So
Oh, yeah.
it's awesome, dude. Well, I appreciate
Yeah,
you
man.
and
Appreciate
me.
you. We'll have to do it again.
Dude, it's always good being in the same room as you. And
Likewise.
I'm going to come and hang out at your event June
Let's
10th.
do it.
So I'll be there, and just connect with you on social media. Throw you a message on social. If you want to plug into that, I'll be there along with a bunch of other folks in Charleston who are all just great people and great business owners. And that'll be fun. And then, dude, we'll just stay connected, right? The REI Central meetup that you guys host on a week or on a monthly basis, and then your quarterly mastermind and all that stuff, man, is always
Yeah, we got a lot
so
going
much
on.
value, so many good people. So
Yeah, plug in with us on social media. Run the local REI meetup here in town at Palmetto Brewing, 6 p.m. first Thursday of every month.
Yep.
Quarterly mastermind, and then next one we'll have to do out of the helm and talk about that one.
yeah, the helm. I just had Dan Rivers on, and so he was talking about the helm. We did a little walkthrough
That's
over
a
there.
habitual thunder stealer, that guy.
Yeah, he is.
I was like,
man.
Tim, meet me at the helm. We'll do a walkthrough. He's like, we just did one with Dan yesterday.
It's good stuff, dude. Well, dude, appreciate you
man.
being here, man. Appreciate you
All right,
always lending some good insight, and just the level of wisdom that you have from being in the business for so long and doing it consistently over time, man. It shows what the simple but not easy method is to just continuously growing the business and building wealth over time, and it's powerful.
Get rich slow. A
That's
lot of
it.
people don't talk about. Doesn't sound as sexy as getting rich quick, but,
Yeah.
but you do just nail the fundamentals. There's no way you won't get rich slow. So hopefully a little faster than later, but yeah.
I love
Get
it, man.
done.
Well, appreciate you being here.
All right, man. Thank you.
Hey, hope you got a ton of good insights from that sit down. Dusty's always a ton of fun to sit down with, have a conversation with. He's very straight shooter on essentially what's going on, what's working, and what he's seeing in the marketplace, and somebody I have a ton of respect for. So make sure you're connected with him, make sure you're following him on social media, and make sure that you're subscribed to the channel. It always is helpful to the algorithm if you share the episode, if you like the episode, and if you comment too. So do me a favor and help out with any one or all three of those, and I will see you guys next time on Spilling the Beans.